Nothing to do, right?
Right, the first signs of you getting tired, you go, oh, my eyes, I can hardly keep them open.
Yeah.
So a blind person doesn't get that, because they can roam about with them shut like that.
So they never sleep, do they, blind people?
Well, they sleep, but they don't need as much, because their eyes aren't stinging.
All guessing, all guesswork, and all nonsense. I mean, all nonsense.
Well, hang on, fair enough. Okay, even if we accept that to be true of blind people, what was happening with the lizards? The lizards were going, I can't believe this is mad. We don't need our eyes. We're down underground. What's the point? Jeff, Bill, let's just no longer use eyes.
Well, they were just like, in a way, it's better if we keep our eyes shut to keep the soil out and stuff. And then over time, they were like, oh, my eyes are stuck. Like the time when...
For a fortnight, you said?
No. It's over hundreds of millions of years. And the other thing is, it's not the case that there's no will to evolution. What happened was that a blind one had no disadvantage, so he was selected better than one with eyes that maybe would find it irritating or getting in the way. You know, just like a snake, it's not a disadvantage for a snake to lose its legs because it's selected, and then it's an advantage because they can get into places that where legs would get in the way.
Like I've said before, right? You see like a little fella, like a midget or a dwarf or something. Right. Who's to say that isn't the way we should be?
Do you mean, how do we know that...
Well, everybody looks at them and goes, oh, look, little fella. But really, it doesn't matter. If we were all like that, the world would be a better place because it's bigger, so there's more to see. Whereas for us, we're getting bigger all the time. The world isn't growing, so there's less to see for us. So for a midget, the world is brilliant. So I'd say it'd be good if we do go backwards as opposed to forwards. Instead of us getting bigger all the time.
Do you want a cup of tea?
No.
I might show off, mate. I'll leave you to it.
Do you know what I mean, though?
We haven't got any. We've only got instant coffee as well.
No,
yeah, but pop out for something.
But what I mean is, they always say like the body's.
No, thanks, mate.
But tell me when he's finished.
I'm just saying the body's getting bigger, and instead of going forward.
No sugar for me, thanks.
Do you want milk?
Yeah, milk.
Get it.
Some scientists have come up with a cure for bird flu. It's somewhat to do with some stuff in horses. They gave the flu to a mouse and then injected it and it's well again. I think we should stop coming up with cures for things as the germs are just getting stronger and stronger. I reckon by 2020, germs will be so big that we will be able to see them in the air. They will no longer be little particles. You wouldn't swallow one. If you did, it won't be the germ that will kill you. You'll just choke to death.
I think that's how we'll die in the future.
Choking on enormous giant germs. And they'll be like rampaging around the cities, will they?
I'll tell you what though, right? I'm getting worried now because the stuff he believes and thinks of, it could be mental. Do you know what I mean though? Like a proper paranoid sort of one of those people that assume going to live in a loft covered in tinfoil.
Yeah.
Right. And pages of the Bible all the way around the. And Suzanne's having to put on some sort of spacesuit to come in and give him his beans on toast.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to polish each bean.
That's what scientists do, isn't it? They just sort of think ahead of everyone else. That's what I'm doing. And the weird thing is, right, Steve, sometime last week, there was a science piece which was close to what I'd already said.
Yeah.
That they've got some germs that like eating sugar, right? They stick them in a lunchbox with a chocolate bar. Within an hour, it was gone. Right, and they say now these germs love chocolate and stuff.
Did this scientist leave it near this fat scientist that works in the same laboratory? And he went, it's unbelievable. He said, Ted, he went, what? Right, I put the chocolate bar in here with the germ. I came, it's gone. That's amazing. Wow, that's brilliant, that. Do it again. What? Do it again. Leave another one, see if it happens again.
So in the future, you're running around and germs are...
eating chocolate.
That's not science, that's Pac-Man. Went to bed and chatted about food to Suzanne. I said it would be best if our bodies could be run on something like coal. That way you wouldn't get fat people because you wouldn't be eating for enjoyment. You'd just be eating to give you energy. Suzanne said, why do you always take the nice things out of life?
Because sometimes to think about the future, it's not going to be all good, is it? Look at the way we have to do things now that we sort of go, oh, I'm sick of this. But they do it for your own good.
But you try and change the laws of the universe.
Based on arbitrary whims.
No, but we're
Yeah.
always eating stuff. That's one of the things we do now, isn't it? As soon as we find a new creature like that frog that's been hidden away for like millions of years, you get someone who go, I wonder if we can eat that. Do you know what I mean? It's everything that's walking on the world, they sort of see what powers it's got.
What powers it's got?
No, like if it can jump far, you know, is it poisonous? Can you get anything out of it to save people? And
Yeah.
then can we eat it? They're the three things that they do with a new frog. Any creature.
So what are they? Can it jump fast?
Yeah. Has
Is
got
it
any
poisonous?
poison in it that you can use to get rid of illnesses?
Yeah.
Can you eat it?
That's the
more and
first three
more-
questions anyone asks, do they?
It seems to be the way, because you look at menus and that, how they're getting bigger and bigger now, and that's only because we're finding more and more species of stuff.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at some stuff on a menu, that octopus you eat, at some point that would have gone through the list of, right, what does it do? What's it got in it? What does that ink do? What's it taste like?
Can it jump?
Can it, whatever, well, they've done tests on it, haven't they, when we said about it being getting in a jam jar or something.
Yeah.
So it's all part of it. Everything's been tested. Everything.
But I think what the trouble is that the first you hear of a newfangled food, do you think that in ancient civilization they didn't do this? They didn't try an oyster or spear a fish or
Yeah, because
eat a
there wasn't
maggot?
that much other stuff knocking about at that time.
Right.
We've got loads of stuff, so why are we messing about with some new frog? It's all like, people just like showing off, don't they? Leave the frogs, let them get busy and have loads of them, eat the chickens, when we run out of them, move on to the frog. Or whatever. But why have all this on the go? You know what I mean? It just makes it... I hate going out for a meal now, because it's like, what are you having? Oh, I'm sick of it, look at it all. And then you're forced into people going, oh, have you had the new frog? Yeah, I don't want it, I'm happy with chicken. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Have you ever been out, Rick, and someone's been trying to force frog on you?
I've never been forced frog in my life. Although I did go for a meal once with Carl. We went there and he had the Orient hors d'oeuvres I recommended, right? And he was trying to get this little oyster, right, off the shell, right? And he was getting it stuck to its house, right? And I looked round and his eyes were watering and he was choking and he was drinking water. I said, what? And he said, I ate that. And it was a big blob of wasabi, right? And I said, why did you put it all in once? He went, he said, I thought it was a mushy pea. Why would they put one mushy pea?
Was it hardcore, the wasabi?
It felt like my head was caving in.
That was just Ricky squeezing it, wasn't it? Between courses.
Trouble with that though is, you know, hot food. Why you get addicted to really hot food is the pain is actually it's killing taste buds, and then endorphins are released in the brain, like, you know, a morphine derivative to sort of go, it's all right, or calm the pain. So you actually get addicted to that sort of, you know, what
So
happens.
why would you want to kill your taste buds? But new ones come back
Well, yeah, I think
straight away.
well, I don't know how long it takes. I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, it's just, is that the chef sort of going, oh, I'm serving some right rubbish tonight. Give him some of that kusabi.
Kusabi! Oh God, and Tonto! Oh God!
Back to the diary. At lunchtime, I went to a local cafe and had an omelette. An old woman, who was about 70-ish, was in there eating pizza. It didn't look right.
No.
I know what you mean there, actually. Old people eating pizza seems a bit weird. What about an old Italian lady eating pizza? Would that be alright?
No, I'd expect her to have lasagna.
Told Suzanne that I had read that we will have spoken to aliens by the year 2025. Ricky once told me that if a lion could speak English, it still couldn't have a good chat with us because its life is different to ours. If that's true, we've got no chance with an alien. I'd be worried it could read my mind. I had that problem once years ago when I worked in a studio making cassettes. Some mind-reading woman was having some cassettes made. She waited while I did them. She had a small dog. I knew she was trying to read my mind, so I just thought about the dog. I thought that would confuse her, because she wouldn't understand why I was thinking about her dog. There's so many elements in this. There's a woman who can read...
She used to...
Read that again. Read that again. Okay, we're going to have an instant replay now.
I'll tell you
Any
what, I can tell you
psychologist
what it is.
listening, or psychiatrist, or just, well, anyone, really, listen to this, what Carl was put in his diary. Okay, Steve, away you go.
I'd be worried that an alien could read my mind. I had that problem once years ago, when I worked in a studio making cassettes. Some mind-reading woman was having some cassettes made. She waited while I did them. She had a small dog. I knew she was trying to read my mind, so I just thought about the dog. I thought that would confuse her, because she wouldn't understand why I was thinking about her dog.
That's amazing.
So, firstly, how did you know she was a mind-reading woman?
Everybody who came in having cassettes done, you'd find out about what the job is. So, you know, if it's a band or whatever, it might be a police station needing blank cassettes to interview people.
Yeah.
And she had them to sort of use during a thing where they do mind reading and stuff. So
Right.
you get
A recording of
it.
Yeah.
And she was just there and she was staring at me like that, just looking over. And a dog was sort of looking worried, and they pick up vibes, don't they?
No.
They do.
And why was it looking
What do you
worried?
mean pick up vibes? Depends what you mean by pick up vibes.
Dogs pick up loads of vibes and stuff. I read the other day how they can tell if someone's got cancer. And
Well,
that.
they can. Well, yeah.
So it's one
There's a
thing.
science behind that. They can smell different at a cellular level.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
it's the same
'cause it's
sort of
like
thing.
70 times. But no. They can't go. The dog wouldn't even know you're an idiot. The dog.
The
even
dog was sort of looking weird and stuff.
It
and then
knew.
She was looking at me.
But were they looking? I'm not being funny. Were they looking at the roundness of your head? Do you
No,
think?
they were just looking at me, and I was sort of panicking a bit. And the more that I was thinking she's reading my mind, I was thinking she knows that I know that she's reading my mind. So I just stopped thinking about her reading my mind. Thought about the dog
What were you thinking about the dog?
just running about on a beach.
He remembers what he was thinking.
No, just so she thought, oh, hang on a minute, it's not his mind, it's the dog's mind I'm picking up.
Oh, so you thought she'd go? Oh no, I'm getting it all tangled up. I've got a cross line here.
But why were you worried that she was reading your mind? Because you weren't thinking of anything
No,
unsafe.
but-
Oh, no, don't. Oh, please.
No, I'm just trying to get in his mind.
It
his
doesn't
rationale.
work, Carl. No one can
his-
read your mind.
No, but wait. What I mean is, even if, let's assume that you thought she could read your mind, why did you think that there was anything wrong with finding out what you were thinking? Because she'd have known that you knew that she could read minds. So if she read your mind and all you were thinking was she can read my mind, she'd think, what?
Of
He knows
course,
that I can
if
read my
she
mind.
really could read your mind, she's
Yeah, but-
going, there's Carl there trying to make me think that it's the dog. I know he's thinking of the dog.
No, but when you sort of try and think of normal things, you think of mental things, don't you? So I was like,
Oh, hold on, let's let that
Go on.
no, I just mean, like, you're going, oh, God, I best not watch what I'm thinking then.
What were you
It might have been
thinking?
anything.
Tell me some of the mental
No, there
things
was
you
loads
might
of
think.
things that was in there.
Go
Like, there
on.
was an old woman who used to annoy me in there who used to give me socks all the time. And
Socks?
socks, she used to always
socks.
make loads of socks and she'd be bringing them in. And no matter what I did, no matter how much I sort of said, look, I'm sick of your socks, she kept bringing them in all the time. And they had, like, pictures on and that. I didn't want socks with pictures on. So I might have been sort of stood there going, oh, there she is with the socks, I'm sick of her. Now, if she can sense that, she'll go over to her and go, watch him,
He
stop
doesn't
bringing
like
him
your socks,
socks,
yeah.
or whatever.
No one can read minds. No one can contact the dead.
Say like me, right? If I sometimes come in the room and that, and I'm fed up, you go, oh, Carl's fed up. I haven't even said anything. So it's just that.
But that's
innit?
because you look like a miserable bastard.
Yeah, and
but-
we know what that means. We're human and we understand facial
So
movements.
it's a bit like
and
that.
moves.
It's a bit like that. It's a level down from that.
No. She should be able to read your mind if you're locked in a safe and she doesn't know who you are and she doesn't know whether there's someone in there.
No,
That's what the double-blind test
That would
is.
never work, would it? Because that means she'd never get a rest. That's like
You're making up the rules. You're making up the rules. Oh no, the thing is, that's what these people do. Go, oh no, I have to hold your hand. Oh, you have to write it down. Well, why? Why do you? It's the same as these mediums that contact the dead. They go, oh, I'm getting someone. Just ask him who he is. Just give us his full name and address. It's ridiculous. I don't know the fact that these dead people give him cryptic clues. Ask him about the toaster. What's your name? What's your name? Can't say my name. Might be an uncle. Just give me your fucking name.
Back to Carl's diary, Friday the 31st. I read that some fella had been having an affair. His wife found out, so when he was asleep, she superglued his knob to his stomach, one of his bollocks to his leg, and glued his arse cheeks together, then chucked him out. If Suzanne did that, I would definitely not get back with her. Saying that, I would have woke up if someone was putting superglue on my arse. I'm quite a light sleeper.
Is that what she did? Is it?
Yeah, that's why I'm a bit cautious about wearing earbuds every night. The plunge things.
Earbuds.
Earbuds,
Right? So
plunge
that's
things.
so that's what they're called, right? Plunge things. He makes up words. They taught a chimp to talk, and the chimp had a better grasp of language after about a few years than Carl. Unbelievable. Yeah, that's why I won't wear buds and plunge things. I phoned him up the other day. He went, oh, just tried out those new earplugs that mould to your ear. You can't hear a thing except your own voice. And I went, oh, right, they're good, aren't they? He went, yeah. He said, it's weird hearing your own voice, isn't it? Because you're hearing it as other people hear it. I went, no, you're not. He went, you are. He said, you don't usually hear your own voice, because usually when you talk, you're talking over it.
Woke up at 9:55 a.m. As soon as I woke up, I looked at Suzanne and she looked at me. I said, did I tell you about...
I just think of him opening his eyes and looking at him.
Okay, all right. Okay, so he opens his eyes. He looks at Suzanne. She looks at him. What question, Rick, do you think he immediately asks his girlfriend?
Go on.
What question do you think? Have a quick guess.
Am I dreaming?
I woke up. I said to my girlfriend, "Did I tell you about?" I woke up. I looked at Suzanne. She looked at me. I said, "Did I tell you about the immune system?" Did I tell you about the immune system? Suzanne started laughing. I said, "It's amazing." She said, "Not now."
Oh God! I was thinking that.
Springing into action, he zips up. His eyes are like. Did I tell you about the immune system? Oh, shut up, Carl. Put the kettle on.
Oh God! Oh fucking hell!
Was talking to Suzanne about how it's odd that Sundays are meant to be the day of rest. I thought God was meant to be born on a Sunday. Or was it the seventh day that he finished making the world? Imagine how good the world could have been if he'd given it an extra day. Sometimes it's best to give yourself a deadline, though, so you don't faff about. I looked at Suzanne. She was leaning back on the bench with her eyes shut with the sun on her face. I never got an answer to my question.
Pretending to be asleep.
I met up with my mate Laurie. He said he was in a pub at the weekend and saw a bloke whose hands were on the wrong arms.
No! What do you mean?
Well, he had his left hand on his right arm and the right hand on the left arm. I don't think this will be a problem if he's been like that from an early age. When I was in Ripley's in LA, I saw a bloke whose head was on back to front.
That's more annoying, innit, than your hands. Innit?
Now then, would you walk? How would you walk? Would you be walking backwards, Carl, so that you could walk? So you're basically walking forwards.
I reckon I'd walk sideways so nobody would sort of tell the difference. It just looked like.
Oh God! He solved it again.
He's thought it through. Got home and read my magazine. There was a story about a baby that was born that looked like a frog. What magazine's this?
That made the news. That was in a proper newspaper in the end.
The story used the description to describe it. There was a picture. I think it was a fairly decent description. It didn't really have a neck or top half of its head. It would look alright if it always wore a scarf and a hat. The world would be a more interesting place if there were loads of different types of humans like there are creatures. Then some people would be good at certain jobs. Spider people, ant people, builders. Cockroach people, dustbin men.
Good idea, isn't it?
I mean,
Cockroach men, Spider men, what are you talking about?
I haven't had a normal conversation with you for a year.
No.
It's getting worse, I think. I think it's because you've left and you've got too much time on your hands and you live in your head for sort of like maybe 8 hours a day, and then you offload when someone calls you, or when you call me, or Suzanne gets the brunt of it. But I mean, I don't know. I really would like to. And the nicest, I still think he's brilliant, right? But I would like to get a little psychiatrist in, just to. Would you mind seeing a
No,
psychiatrist?
but it's just there's nothing wrong. These are all ideas, aren't they? You look at some insects, right?
Yeah.
They don't have machinery, yet they're getting by, aren't they? They have their lives like we do. They get up, they wander about, they collect food, they tidy up, they fix stuff, they make their own house. We can't do any of that. So what I'm saying is, why aren't we using them? Why are these cockroaches with all these powers and stuff
Powers.
going about?
It's all these powers.
But how could we use them? How could we harness
I just
them?
told you, dustbin men. Or whatever that
No,
was.
you said that if they were also men, if they were cockroach men, we could use them.
You've left a big bit out, but when that 1-inch cockroach becomes a 6-foot bloke wearing a jacket.
It's just that we always use insects for like a bit of fun. You see flea circuses and all that, which is all very well, but I don't think it's getting the most out of them.
Cockroaches can live without a head.
I know.
For-
We'll sort out the rubbish if they've got no heads.
They could, couldn't they?
Except if they were, because you want to use them as builders and dustmen, they couldn't whistle at pretty girls, could
No, but they wouldn't be doing that job. They're just doing the bins.
they? Okay.
It's ants that are doing the building.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And are they getting up early? Are they
They
disturbing
don't
you?
sleep, do they?
But then they get you up even earlier. You hate it when the builders get you up at 7, then go for breakfast.
Yeah, but it wouldn't go on as long, would it? Because the ants would be working hard. So it'd probably be one day of madness, but then it'd be finished. As opposed to builders just stood about whistling, doing nothing, going on for months.
And is this ant 6 foot?
No. About 3.
3 foot. So how many of them are there?
About 30 of them.
And what do they look like? Are they just a giant ant with a...
Add that on. Just get on with it. I mean, it'd be weird for a bit, but with anything, you get used to seeing
But
things,
Carl,
don't you?
again, this isn't an idea. It isn't a theory. You can't put this into practice because it doesn't exist.
I know, I'm just saying.
It's
though,
like, I mean, you wishing for ant builders is the same as you wishing that you didn't have to do any building and your house was just perfect, or you could just wish for it. What's the difference? Why go through this elaborate? But what I'm saying
Weird,
is
isn't
that
it?
your wish is you're not taking shortcuts. You see, it's the same people who goes, "Oh, I wish I could go back in time and put £1,000 on the Grand National." What you mean is you wish you had £1 million.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the time travel bit and put in you wish you were rich.
Yeah.
It's like, so you wish you didn't have to have builders round. That's what you're wishing for. So this elaborate thing of getting a 3-foot ant with a hard hat.
Today I got an innovations catalogue. I thought I'd keep it because I like the stuff they sell in it. Brackets, one big slipper.
What's that? One big slipper.
just if you don't go out much.
But you don't like slippers.
No, I know, but I think they're a good idea because they're just there to keep your feet warm.
But why one big? Why not two smaller ones?
So you can walk around.
Yeah, one big slipper's just making it painful.
It's more
and
sort of
awkward.
roomy, isn't it?
Why do you think that's a good invention? One big slipper.
How is that better than two smaller slippers?
Because the problem is with slippers, right? You've already said how you nip across the road in them, right? So you muck them up and you have to buy some more. There's no way you'll be nipping to the shops in that one big one. That will always stay where it should be, by the sofa next to the telly. And you go, right, I'm in for the night now, where's my slipper?
But can I just put my feet inside a cushion cover or something? What?
If you want, but it's only cheap, why not get one?
You're right.
They're only cheap. Why not get one? But then, Carl, why not get one big glove? If you're not going out, right, just get one big glove. You don't have to do anything, just one big glove. Pop your hands in one big glove. I'm not going out with gloves, you have to go out and touch stuff. Just one big glove. Why?
Well, yeah, why bother putting trousers on? You've got to put legs in both. Why not just wear a skirt?
Yeah, well, pop a skirt on, yeah.
Just put on a lady's skirt or a lady's dress. It's one piece, isn't it, then?
Yeah.
Just pop around in
One
a
big
lady's-
monocle, don't wear glasses, wear one big monocle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stupid having two gloves. Two gloves, two slippers, it's mental.
Anyway, had a good sleep last night. So much so that I woke up before my legs did.
I don't know what that means!
This has happened before when I was younger. We used to have a phone in the bathroom so that if anyone called and we were on the toilet, you'd still be able to be available. My bedroom was next to the bathroom and the phone rang one morning. My mum and dad were at work and my brother and sister were out somewhere and the phone woke me up. So I jumped out of bed to answer it, but the bottom half of my body was still asleep and I fell to the floor.
It's horrible. Has that ever happened to you?
Well, hang on. I had to crawl for a bit and reached for the phone. It was a fella selling some bread to my dad for the shop. By the end of the call, my legs were working again.
It's a weird sensation.
What shop?
My mum and dad used to have a butty shop. So
Did they?
But the thing is, just on the floor, top half, I had to sort of crawl, carrying my weight, and my legs were just like they weren't there. It's really, really weird.
You mean you woke up with two dead legs, two pins and needles legs?
Are
Couldn't
you
feel
sure
them
you weren't wearing just one big slipper?
Hi, I'm Ricky Gervais.
My name's Steve Merchant.
I'm Carl Pilkington, all right?
And you're listening to the World's Technology Podcast.
Can we do that end bit? Just hang on, here we go, on the count of three, right?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Are you guys ready to go?
Absolutely.
All right. I should start off by thanking all of you because I usually have to do my interviews from a very small, cramped, smelly booth in the newsroom, but I actually get to come down to the big studio today. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for showing up.
Is that because of us?
Yeah, just because of you guys, I get the studio.
Well, you get more comfort because we're on.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
we're in a small little smelly booth, so I don't know what's going on.
Well, okay. Anyway, I guess I should start off by asking, Ricky, Steven, you guys have been working together for a long time. TV, radio. Why podcasting?
A couple of reasons, really. It's total artistic freedom. I mean, we always had, artistic freedom. It's not the fact that we can get more freedom of speech than we ever did have, but it's more convenience. We can do it when we want for as long as we want. But the main thing is that it's literally global. Unlike everything else, people in America can't get the DVD of extras yet, maybe, or they, But this is available when it's available here. It's available everywhere.
I think you say artistic freedom there, Rick. I wonder if that paints the impression of this being some kind of artistic endeavour.
I was going to push that point just a little bit, having listened to every episode of your podcast so far, but we'll get to that in just a second. Was this the Guardian's idea or your idea?
Ours.
It was your idea.
Yeah.
You guys went to the Guardian and said, "Can we do a podcast?"
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And then you offered to do it for free.
Well, we wanted to do it for free, so we had to have someone to host it because obviously it costs money for the setup and stuff. So we always wanted to give it away for free. It's just then someone had to facilitate that.
Right.
So that idea came first. That was absolutely fundamental that I wanted it free. Yeah, we just and the Guardian were great about that. They're sort of like the forerunner of sort of media in England. So it was a marriage made in heaven.
I mean, they have been out in front, haven't they, on new media, blogging, pictures from picture phones, things like that. A lot of sort of citizen media.
I must warn you that the more you press any point, the more you'll find our ignorance.
Oh, right. Okay.
Blogging?
Yeah,
a blog.
While you're ahead.
Blogging throws you guys, huh?
Yeah, that's when you just go online and talk about what you did that day, isn't it?
All right. Well, how about? I mean, you obviously must have known a little bit about podcasting, or you wouldn't have gone to the Guardian with the idea.
And we knew what it was. We knew that people do it in their bedroom and stick it on the internet for all to listen to, but they only get 25 people listening to it. And we thought, with our global fame, we could get more listeners than that.
Right. So I'm curious, Carl, how did you get involved with all of this?
Don't know really. Just I did the radio show with Ricky and Steve, and
that was a radio show there that went out in Britain, right?
Yeah, went out in London, but on the internet and that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wanted to carry on Monkey News.
Yeah, Monkey News, for listeners who haven't heard, is sort of a roundup of monkey news. Yeah.
Well, I think what we should make clear to people who aren't familiar with the show is that, unlike the things that Ricky and I have worked on in the past, our TV sitcoms and things, this is not a carefully crafted comedy show. This is basically Ricky and I probing Carl about his views and opinions on the world. And what we discovered when we started working with him is that they are unique. And that word is bandied around, but I think I would be right in saying, Rick, that they are truly unique
Carl
views.
is the most fascinating human being I've ever met. And I mean that both as a compliment and as an insult. His views are fascinating, but they're rather like the first chimp that ever speaks. They're rather like when you thaw out a caveman and then experiment on him. I mean, I see myself and Steve as very much as Anthony Hopkins in The Elephant Man, taking around Carl as an exhibit. And it's strange that now people want to talk to it. It really is only a prop in our show.
Now, Carl, you're not getting paid to do this, so why do you take this kind of abuse?
I don't really see it as abuse.
All right, okay. I mean, they've as much as said it's abuse.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, I sort of learned stuff from it, so that's a reason to do it. But also,
what have you learned this week?
Well, the what's her name? That lion. That if it could shout, it couldn't I don't always learn something every
Right,
week,
obviously.
but
He's referring to Wittgenstein's lion, where Wittgenstein said that if a lion could speak English, you wouldn't be able to understand it. It's because his frames of reference would be so far removed that even though he's using real words in the English language, we wouldn't be able to understand what he said. Carl, what did you learn about that?
I just thought a lion was a bad example of a creature that you couldn't have a chat with.
Go on.
Yeah.
No, I just...
I'm with you so far.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So all I'm
Bad
saying...
example of a creature you couldn't have a chat with. So you're saying that you could have a chat with a lion. It's a bad example.
I just think, because you said it could speak English, so
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, if it can speak English, it's wandering about. It's got quite a normal life, but it can't speak English at the moment.
Right.
It's like us, it roams about, it's
Yeah.
looking for food.
Yeah.
Now, if it was a worm, I'd say, yeah, that's not going to happen. Just because it's got all the odds are against it.
He lives underground.
It's underground,
yeah.
so it's not living the sort of life we have. It's
Mhm.
blind. Do you know what I mean, Clark?
It's got no mouth, so it's going to be muffled when it speaks English.
As always, Carl, I kind of try to start. I kind of start getting my head around what you're trying to say about 10 minutes after you've said it.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So does he.
Yeah, and that's the sense that I get from listening. Now, I'm just going to take the last episode as an example. Carl, you held forth on dishwashers on Mars. We had that in there. We had what a day would be like on a different planet. But my favorite part, and I just want to play a little clip here, was Carl Pilkington making the case that dinosaurs should roam the Earth right now. If we could just play a clip from last week's episode. Yeah, Ricky won.
When you think about it, there's a population problem.
Yeah.
There's too many of us.
Yeah.
We're saving people all the time. No one's allowed to get injured anymore. You've got to, wear a helmet when you're on a bike. There's speed bumps to slow people down. Cures for illnesses. No one's dying anymore. And that's a problem.
So
what
you
I'm saying
feel that
is,
you should introduce Tyrannosaurus Rex into,
wandering
say,
about, wandering
London,
around.
just have him wandering around, just picking people off.
that's what just sort of random and that, because I don't know. I mean, I'm not wishing that anyone I know dies and that, but all I'm saying is I don't know anyone who's died for ages.
Right.
Whereas if a dinosaur was knocking about, then it is survival of the fittest, which is, we've lost all that now. You don't even have to be fit to survive. They just keep sticking a new lung on you. Or, do you know what I mean? They can do too much now to keep people
They
going.
just keep sticking a new lung on you.
Carl, do you still feel that way about dinosaurs roaming the Earth? That would be a good idea? Just curious.
All I'm saying is, we might not have to go that far, but I'm just saying we've got to keep an eye on it.
Right.
Because
Wait a minute. Got to keep an eye on what? The population
just
problem?
the amount of people we're knocking about, and we're saving everyone. And I was reading yesterday about we're worried about the polar bears now, and it's just like, oh, let something die. Just because if we're saving everything, where are we going to live? Because they're just going to. Do you know what I mean? More and more people are taking up space.
And polar bears have become a real problem there in London, I've read.
Well, no, but it's just saying, like, we're worried about them. But what I'm saying is, if the polar bears do die out, that's more land available to put houses on, because we'll be needing that space. One thing I can tell you, Clark, the world isn't getting any bigger.
Now,
Polar bears don't live on land; they live on ice caps.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just.
Another part of it's a fascination with animals of all stripes I've noticed in the podcast. You were just talking about polar bears. We were just talking about lions. One of my favorite parts from the last episode, though, was a reading from Carl's diary.
Yeah.
I should preface this. The premise here behind Carl's diary is what exactly?
I sort of did it just because I find that if I write things down, I remember them better. Because I didn't do that well at school, right, Clark? Mainly because I didn't write stuff down. I just sort of stayed in the class, listened, and then left and couldn't remember it. So now I'm doing this podcast. I'm learning a lot. Not every week, like I say, but now and again I pick something up and I think that's good. So I think if I write it down, it'll go into my head.
Okay.
So I started doing the diary.
See, that would be a good rule of thumb and a way forward if the things you wrote down were true in the first place. You see, when you look back in years to come and you go, oh, I learnt something. Yeah, there's a dishwasher on Mars.
Yeah, but have you heard about that, Clark? I mean,
not
you're
true.
working on a
It's not true. It's not true.
Yeah, the dishwasher on Mars thing, I wasn't entirely convinced about, but I do like the fact that Carl is so interested in science and technology.
But the thing is, it's the thing is about the dishwasher on Mars was that it was in a piece explaining that they've got telescopes now that could see a dishwasher on Mars. It was purely an illustrative point, and we explained this to him afterwards, and we explained to him that there are telescopes that can see the Big Bang because that's how long it takes light to get here. That happened billions of years ago. He couldn't see that. He couldn't see that when you see a star burn out, it happened a million years ago. I mean, he absolutely couldn't grasp that concept.
But I don't see why we're looking that far, because we're not going to get there. To me, it's a bit of a teaser. It's like showing you a really nice beach and saying, but you can't go there. So what's the point in seeing it? The whole thing about seeing something is being able to go, that looks nice, I'm going to go there, or that looks nice, I'm going to buy one. But to say,
well, that's not true.
What do you mean?
Well, that's not true. That's not true in all cases, is it?
Why?
Well, why have we been fascinated with art? Why have we been fascinated with... people don't show you the Mona Lisa because one day you might buy it.
Well, yeah, but I've talked about that. I'm not a big fan of a lot of art. But what I do know is I don't want to look miles away and see stuff that's happened and I can't change the end of. I mean, are you up for it, Clark? Would you have one?
Have what?
Have what? A dishwasher? See, this is the problem,
miles.
Carl. I get lost. I get lost in it. By the time you get to asking me the question, I don't quite know what you're asking me anymore.
I'm just saying, is it worth seeing that far?
Well,
there you are, Clark. That's one of the most extraordinary questions you must have been asked in some while.
It is.
Is it worth looking that far?
I'll tell you what I mean. Maybe this is clearer.
What?
It's like when you get to a corner, you want to turn it because you go, I wonder what's round it. But if you can see round the corner without going round the corner, then, you know, will you ever look round the corner? Or, maybe that's not...
He's tongue-tied. He's brain-tied himself again.
Yeah. At this point... At this point, since we're out in space anyway, in more ways than one, I wanted to... Stephen, you tend to be the one who reads from Carl's diary. Is that something you look forward to?
Honestly, I mean, Carl. We had to persuade Carl to allow us to read from his diary.
You might explain what his diary looks like too.
Well, his diary is one of those enormous, oversized desk diaries. It's not the sort of discreet thing you keep in your pocket. It's a big black folder, essentially, of his gobbledygook. And yeah, every day he writes something down. He hopes to have learned something.
Weighs about 10 pounds. His writing is all in capitals, like the writing you see in a madman would leave about
just before
aliens.
he started picking people off from a clock tower.
Oh boy! Yikes! Well,
which of course would help with limiting the population, Carl, if we had someone doing that.
Hey, you wouldn't need the dinosaurs.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to play. This is from the last podcast that you guys did too. This is Stephen Merchant reading an entry from Carl's diary about the Big Bang Theory.
Oh.
Got my science book out. It said that the static you get on the telly when a channel isn't tuned in properly is radiation that is still knocking about from when the Big Bang happened. I thought about the Big Bang and wondered if it was really a Big Bang or did it just sound louder as there was no other noise to drown it out. Carl's diary, Rick, never ceases to amaze. More from that next week.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, I agree. That's sometimes all I can think is wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard us discuss the model of infinity with the infinite amount of chimps?
Eventually, but doesn't Carl believe that the chimps can't come up with anything by Shakespeare?
Carl, what do you think of that?
It's...
He reckons it wouldn't happen if I hadn't read it first.
Right, the chimps.
He doesn't get the concept. He doesn't get the concept of using... the trouble is, where people use that model of a chimpanzee not having consciousness, Carl doesn't believe that, because Carl thinks that chimps think like us. Carl gets most of his scientific information from the Flintstones and the Planet of the Apes. So a chimpanzee is a really bad example to show random... it's infuriating.
But the biggest problem I've got with it is, right, and...
This is the chimp theory. The chimp theory, okay.
We should point out, this is the theory that if you gave an infinite number of chimps, an infinite number of typewriters, they would...
eventually write Shakespeare.
Eventually write the complete works of Shakespeare.
Right, my biggest problem is, it's not the same chimp.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter because...
Okay, let's change it then. It still works if you give a chimp an infinite amount of time. Eventually, he will type the complete works of Shakespeare.
But then the new one will come along, the different monkey, whatever the shift pattern is, one will finish the shift.
Forget shift pattern. The shift pattern's got, I've told you before, it's got nothing to do with it. So, okay, forget infinite amount of monkeys, right? One monkey with a typewriter, given an infinite amount of time, will eventually, along with everything else, type the complete works of Shakespeare.
It just annoys me how you believe that, yet you're not having the...
Because it's a model to show the nature of infinity. We're not saying it would ever happen or will ever happen.
But they haven't even done chapter 1 of one yet.
But they're not actually conducting this experiment.
So why say it? It's a stupid thing to say.
Oh, really?
That's rich.
Okay, so other than being a platform for Carl's theories, do you guys think that podcasting gives you comic opportunities that other media really don't?
Well, yes, because it's sort of cheap. It's a cheap medium. We couldn't go on television and expect people to pay a TV licence or to take advertising out on the drivel of Carl Pilkington. Whereas if we just stick it out there and people come across it, I mean, just think of us pitching this idea to a TV company. We get a shaved monkey and ask it stuff for half an hour. They're not going to be chomping at the bit, are they? Whereas this way we can show them the... I mean, I really do feel like I am a pioneer in the Old West, and I've found the missing link. Me and Steve think of us going around in some sort of wagon where we pull down the sheet and there's Carl sitting there in the cage, and all these people go, yes, see the roundness of his head, hear it speak, right? You know what I mean? It just go around every... I mean, I'd love to do a tour of America and give away little, pictures of Carl. They've met the missing link.
But Clark, do you sometimes think I have got a point? Do you ever think, he's right with that one?
I sometimes think you have a point.
Right.
I'm not ever entirely sure what that point is.
Yeah, but it's the same as if Einstein, right? Say if he didn't have, everyone bigging him up like they have now. And, you hear the name Einstein, you go,
I know you're anti-Einstein too, yeah.
But what I mean is, if he said to you, all right, Clark, E equals MC squared, wouldn't you find that a bit like, what are you on about? What's your point?
That's a good point. I see now that you are like Einstein.
I'm just saying every idea has to come from an egg, and I'm just laying the egg.
And you've just got a head shaped like an egg, and it's coming out of there.
You're just laying the egg, are you? So where is Einstein there? Building, of course, on Newtonian laws of physics. Your idea of dinosaurs rampaging around London in order to pick people off, keep the population down, is based on what previous idea?
It's just one idea.
Jurassic Park?
It's just one little idea that could move on to another one.
Has the popularity of this surprised you?
Yeah.
I mean 3 million downloads of 11 episodes?
We're getting about sort of 400,000 or 500,000 downloads a week now. I mean, it's amazing that these people are out there coming back and telling their friends. I mean, that's what's nice about it, that they listen, they download it, they bother to download it. It just doesn't come out of the radio waves. They're not, they bother to download it week after week.
I think one of the attractive things about podcasting, and something that we enjoyed with radio, and this in a sense gives us even more freedom, is that it doesn't have to be carefully crafted. It can feel like, and it is, 3 people having a conversation in a room. And I've always personally been a fan of any kind of media where you get, as it were, invited to someone else's conversation and you can sort of listen in. And ideally that would be some of the great thinkers of our time. But in this instance it's not. But I think it can be pleasurable. You can sort of plug yourself into someone else's life for half an hour and see the way they think. And I think there's something quite inclusive, hopefully, about the show.
Right.
Why you should choose to listen, I've no idea.
Yeah, well...
What the hell is going on in your life that you need to listen to this drivel?
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. I mean, what has been your interaction...
I mean, specifically you, Clark. What's going on in your life?
Well, I mean, that is a fair question. I guess not much, really. But... do you have plans for...
an expert on technology. Is there anything you want to ask him to take this opportunity?
Because I won't be able to answer it.
Think of it like a consultation. Ask him anything. What bothers you about the world?
Come on, shoot, Carl. Give me something.
What do you know, like, there's loads of inventions all the time, aren't they? They're coming out all the time. They're always bringing stuff out.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mainly stuff we don't need now, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's your opinion.
Since about I don't know, 1978. I'd
Brilliant.
say.
Just a figure at random.
Plucked a year out of the air.
The mobile phone was voted by farmers around the world the most labour-saving device of the 20th century. That came after 1978. So once again, you've made a fool. I know what you're going to say. It's just a phone. They just tweaked it. Fundamentally different.
It's the same as the iPod being the new Walkman. Right. They keep sort of tweaking it, and it's annoying because to me it's kind of like, you know, someone jumping on the back of someone else's idea, right? So say like Mr. iPod, he's got Mr. Walkman, and he's gone, I'll have that. So
I've just got an image of now a man jumping on the back of another man. I mean, it's
that
incredible.
the actual image in your head, Carl, as you said that?
Well, yeah, I'm sort of imagining a little salesman on a market doing well for himself, and then someone coming along, nicking the idea, setting up a stall right next to him and going, look at this, I'm doing better than you.
It's fundamentally different.
But what would you say has been the best invention?
Ever?
Well, before 1978, because everything after then, it's just been toys. So just, you know, something that you go...
Amazing.
That's...
I mean, amazing. We've got DNA fingerprinting since 1978. We've mapped.
Yeah, but all these things are making other
helix.
people lazy, aren't they? All these new inventions. Why do you need 10,000 songs on the go with you? Where are you walking? You know, it's a Walkman. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So what you know, what do you think is a good thing? What's come out there that you go, I can't do that?
Well, you know, television's been okay.
Yeah, but don't you think it gets you down as well?
No.
The way that... Why?
Well, because I try not to watch anything that's going to get me down.
No, but sometimes you can't avoid it. It's like, you know, something bad happens in the world and then you put the telly on. Now, years ago, cavemen weren't worrying about what was going on the other side of the world. They'd just get on with their own day, potter about. Now, you know, like within 5 minutes of something happening, we're all getting miserable because it's like, oh, have you heard the news? So
you're actually a Luddite then. You I mean, here you've been doing this podcasting
you've made a fatal error there, Clark.
I know. That's a big word.
Yeah.
What? In what way?
Let me ask you this, Carl.
What do you think? Can I just explain what a Luddite is to him, though, Carl?
Yeah. Please.
Is it like it's like a caveman, isn't it?
No, it was people that were protesting against the Industrial Revolution and went and smashed up machinery because they thought it was an evil that was going to ruin the world.
What was the machine they were smashing up?
I think it was something like a...
It's a giant robot that was going around killing
The giant robot that was killing all the dinosaurs. Yeah.
But go on, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just as we're wrapping up here, Carl. I have to admit that I was a little bit nervous about doing this interview with you. I'm a little bit nervous that this might end up as a diary entry. Is this interview been interesting enough to warrant a diary entry, or no?
Can I just answer that as well?
Sure.
He puts in things like saw a woman walking down the street, saw a fat bloke.
Well,
I think you're interesting enough to make it his diary. If you're not, you're in real trouble.
Well, that's why I'm hesitant to even ask the question. I would hate to not even make Carl's cut.
That would be devastating.
It is interesting, but not because of you, but just because of the way that I'm talking now.
Thank you.
Because I thought someone was going to be in this room chatting to us, and you're miles away. What time is it?
It's 11 o'clock in the morning here.
You see, there's the next invention then. Why is it 11 o'clock? Wouldn't the world run better if it's the same time everywhere?
No, the answer's no. The answer's definitely not.
But why? Because we'd all be on the same. We'd all have the same mood all the time.
Well, no,
we'd
we've got that.
We've
got Greenwich Mean Time, if you want a reference point.
But everybody feels the same in the morning, don't they?
Oh, you're such an idiot. What's morning? What's morning?
But just listen to it.
Did you hear that groan there from Clark?
Are you guys...
He just felt like he wanted to give up living.
Are you guys... Is this started something? Are you guys going to keep on podcasting?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Yeah. Until every person in the world knows who Carl Pilkington is.
But it's just another invention. If we brought it out on cassette, no one would want to know. That's what I mean. Blogging, you mentioned blogging, but I've got a diary. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's always the same. This link that we've got now, it's clearer, but it's a telephone. Everything's done. It's boring. Move on.
Do you know what he said to me once, Clark? He said, everything that's that ever will be invented has already been invented.
Right.
And I pointed out that people said that in 1900. And he said, well, what's happened since 1900? I said, well, loads of stuff. He went, well, what's left to be invented? I said, a cure for cancer. He said, people have to die, otherwise rent will keep going up. That's what he said. That was his conclusion.
Yeah, he is concerned with the population, I know. That's been brought up numerous times in the podcast.
But it's just as well, if you live forever, how do you plan stuff? You just keep putting stuff off. Whereas if you know you've only got a set amount, then you go, right, what do I want to do? Let's get my diary out. There's no point having a diary if you're living forever, because you go, well, let's spread it out.
Well, I guess you can stop keeping your diary then.
I tell you what you could try if you could live forever, to try and type the complete works of Shakespeare with the book in front of you. And I don't reckon you'd ever do it.
Well, we'll leave it there. Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant, and Carl Pilkington, thank you very, very much for agreeing to join us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you
So much.
Thanks.
Jeez. Hi, I'm Ricky Gervais.
My name's Steve Merchant.
I'm Carl Pilkington, all right?
And you're listening to the World's Technology Podcast.
Can we do that end bit? Just hang on, here we go, on the count of three, right?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
And you're listening to the World's Technology
Podcast.
I mustn't look at him. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
And you're listening to the World's Technology Podcast.
Brilliant.
Surely that's what they're looking for.
That
They must
is,
be looking.
yeah,
Right, here we go.
that is
Just
more than what I'm looking for.
Do it once more, hang on.
Okay.
2, 3.
And you're listening to the World's Technology Podcast. Hi, I'm Ricky Gervais.
My name's Steve Merchant.
I'm Carl Pilkington and that.
And you're listening to the World's,
World's
Technology,
Technology
Podcast.
Oh. Somewhere,
You happy?
yeah, somewhere in there we got it.
Hey everyone, I'm pretty sure I'm live. A little early though. I'm gonna go open the window. It's hot in here. It's getting hot in here. So YouTube proves my monetization. Yeah, I don't know if this is a stream or the web. Hey, entire export, how's it going? Hey Kuju, welcome to the Thanksgiving special. What's up, Rudy? Thank you for coming to the Hey Nuclear Glue. Thanks for coming to the Thanksgiving special. That's what I was trying to get to. 3rd annual Thanksgiving special. What's up, Nick? Happy Thanksgiving to you too, man. I think it'll be a good one. Fenelene, Historical Hiker. Thanks for that shout out on Instagram too. That was really awesome. Let me figure. It's always harder to get started, figure out what's best, take my glasses off, and I have a really bad habit. People who've watched my live streams before probably see that I do this. I watch myself. I'm constantly watching myself, and it gives me motion sickness. It's really super weird. So let me figure out a way to block my face so that doesn't happen. But I still want to see your awesome comments here. I mean, I pull up, and all of my images are really disturbing, sad stuff. Like, I guess here's a cute one. You guys can't see it, but it's a little Thanksgiving cat. As opposed to the news report on all those children dying in the fire. Hey, Cantillions. Hey, Joe Logan. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just did it. I just trimmed it up in my bathroom. Let's get this Thanksgiving cat here. So yeah, I'm so glad that you guys are able to join us for this Thanksgiving, 3rd annual Thanksgiving special. I'm impressed, not so much by myself, but by you guys for sticking around. Yeah, Historical Hiker, my picture file, it's not too bad. Hey, Helena. My picture file's not too bad. It is the occasional weird thing. Well, you know, that's perfect, actually. That's a good segue, because I did want to talk about this. I got a couple things I want to talk about. What episode was that? So, this week, I think it was Monday's episode. Happy Thanksgiving, Johnny. Happy Thanksgiving. Rudy Jazz was there, and, that's an interesting question, SK. We'll take a look at that. Rudy Jazz was there, and Nick Buston and his wife, and one other person was there on, hey, Vexine, and Idea Guy, thanks for joining us. So Monday's episode was cut short. Let me cut to the chase here. Monday's episode, I'm sure a lot of you guys probably picked up on it, was only 18 minutes long, or 20 minutes long, or something really, really small. And the reason why, was that Monday's episode? Let me double check here. I cut out 18 minutes of that. It wasn't Monday's episode. It was, I think it was the previous week. Anyways, the point is, it was episode 774. Episode 774. I'm glad that worked out for you. Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for the donation, Phenyline. Because of that donation, we'll make sure we get you the shout out, get you in the Carpenter Copter for an episode. Really appreciate you. Cantillians, I do have a P.O. box. It is in the show notes. It's P.O. Box 1363, Hood River, Oregon 97031. But it's also in the show notes, so I do have a P.O. box. I edited out an 18-minute segment. So on Mondays, on Sunday mornings, we have the Patreon Discord. We do a live recording of an episode. And I recorded this 18-minute long segment, and it was funny, and it was complete, and it was finished. And it was about a really weird fake incest porn video, but it may have been real. And it was so gross. Like, I mean, it went on for way too long, and like Rudy has pointed out, I reenacted some of the noises that were being made, and it was funny, but it was too gross. Like, by the time you got to the 8-minute mark, you're like, because it was this weird, like, creepypasta turned Lost the Media, like, newspapers are writing articles about whether or not this video actually existed. It was a big story, so I just didn't feel like it was right for that episode. This happens from time to time. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, but I will record another, yes, Joe, you did miss those noises. I will record, I think I'm going to add that into a bonus episode. When I do a bonus episode and I say repeat that one, which will probably happen sooner rather than later, I'll add it in, just something about it, like, before I started, because I had done all the research, and it was about this, I'm not going to go into detail, just compounding the problem, but I did a bunch of research, and as I started to record it, I was getting my mic ready, I thought, this probably isn't a good way to start a Monday episode. But I did it anyways. And then I was editing it. The Patreon people who were listening to it, they liked it. They were also grossed out. But then I was editing it, and I was like halfway through editing it, that 18-minute long segment. Because 18 minutes takes you like a half hour to edit. I go, I don't want to release this. It's just too gross. It was too gross. So I will because it's good, but sometimes you just got. And it's so funny because, well, Nick goes, so Castrate Punk. You're right. Castrate Punk was a super disgusting episode. I've talked a lot about like the cannibalism, pooping each other out. That was pretty gross. This felt different. Like, at least with Castrate Punk, it was a super bizarre subculture that no one really knew about. This felt a little different, I think, because it was leaning so much into, like, the porn angle. Like, Castrate Punk, which I know people wish that episode didn't exist either, but that episode felt less exploitive, I guess. It felt more like, whoa, like, this is actually going... I don't know, but I made that call I will release it, but it's funny because I knew that week I was going to do that episode about Arthur Stillwell and Robert Downey Jr. and listening to your guts and hearing voices and stuff like that. Hey, Sephora, Ari, happy Thanksgiving. And thank you for stopping by too, T-Mad and Why Do Countries Exist. Hey, T-Mad, you're back. I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, I just edited it out. Like, I had to listen to my gut, and I knew I was going to do an episode about Arthur Stillwell later in the week, and I was like, I just need to listen to my gut. For whatever reason, my gut's telling me not to release this creepypasta lost media incest segment, which is weird because so only 4 people have heard it, and it has become its own lost media. But I will include it in a bonus episode pretty soon. Yeah, Castrate Punk. It's so funny because for me, I didn't think that was so gross. No, I mean, like, visually, but I guess it's because I was looking at the photos and that was gross. So when I was describing the photos, it didn't seem that bad. But if you hadn't seen the photos, if you did not know that segment of society existed, then yeah, it was like super shocking. Castrate Punk 27.7. Joe, it's so funny. Joe said that they listened to the Johnny, thank you so much for the donation. I'm going to get your name down and we'll get you in an episode flying around in the Carpenter Copter. Really appreciate that donation, guys. I started just at 10 Harbinger, so yeah, it's only been a couple minutes, really. That's so funny. T-Man was captain for one of the gross episodes. There have been times where I've really debated, like, do I need a captain? I think there was a recent episode where I was like, no one's the captain. I even forgot what episode that was. Sometimes if I do episodes that are kind of off-brand, Cantillians, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. Get you back into the Carpenter Copter as well. That is amazing donation, guys. Really appreciate it. No, you're not late at all, Harbinger. Thanks for stopping by. One guy posted, so here's the thing. On YouTube, I'll get like hate comments. People are like, oh, dude, you totally suck, blah, 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 blah. That's fine, whatever, right? But I just ignore those. And then there are the ones that are, they're insulting and they make me laugh. And this guy, I don't remember his name, but I laughed so hard at it. He said, going to what Joe Logan was just saying, that he was listening to the episode about cannibalism and pooping out. And he goes, you legit made me lose my appetite. I couldn't finish my meal, you corporaphilic freak. And I laughed so hard. Like, that's the worst thing you can do is tell me that I ruined your meal. Tell me that you're like, I can't even watch this show anymore, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's just going to make me laugh. An Idea Guy, thank you so much for that donation. An Idea Guy. This is great, guys. Thank you. Sorry, I'm writing that down, that question. Symptoms of mental. You know, it's mental illness is it is such an interesting part of the paranormal world. It has to be included in that. It was a pretty good insult, Quintillions. It has to be, like, if you're a rocket scientist and maybe you're like a little bit crazy because that's all you do is rocket science and stuff like that, it kind of plays a part. But like I guess in some people, when you're like at a certain high level of academics, you're probably a little weird because that's all you do is read American history from like 1776 till like 1955. You're like, I don't read anything else. But we all see it, the combination of mental illness and the paranormal community, and that's kind of what An Idea Guy is talking about. And it's interesting, like, if you have a mental illness, are you more likely to believe in ghosts and goblins and ghouls? Or do those things exist and interacting with them make you go crazy? I think most people who are into paranormal, I think most people who believe in conspiracy theories are into paranormal, into dark stuff. They're not mentally ill. I think the majority of people who love really creepy true crime stuff or believe in chakra, I don't believe they're mentally ill. I think most of them are just real curious people. But we do have that crossover, and it is something that we can't ignore, which is really interesting. And then, like what Fenelon was saying about people with schizophrenic symptoms, we're actually doing an episode about. Someone sent it to me through the Dead Rabbit Radio Reddit, and I let me pull it up here real quick. I'm not going to do the whole segment, but I do want to give this person a shout out. It's a very, very fascinating article, and it is. Oh, come on, where'd you go, buddy? I also went through a bunch of Max Kramer stuff. Gnome Sane 23 on the Dead Rabbit Radio Reddit sent me this article. There has never, ever been anyone who was born blind who has schizophrenia. They've studied this for decades. They've taken in like 500,000 people who, if you were born blind, you cannot get schizophrenia. They can't figure it out. They have no, and they've realized that people who do it, because now that they can find a group of people who don't have it, they can look at that group, and then they can start looking at people with vision problems early in life have a higher chance of being schizophrenic. So if you're having trouble balancing, if you're having trouble with your eyesight, your chances of schizophrenia are higher. They say if you go blind as an adult, your chances of schizophrenia are off the charts. But if you're born blind, you will never get schizophrenia. It's such a weird thing, and when we're talking about the brain, when we're talking about schizophrenia, we don't even understand that disease, let alone how it plays a part in hearing voices, seeing things from beyond the veil, stuff like that. It's just so interesting. And yeah, El Pato, thanks for joining us. And I think that's another thing. People who are into the paranormal, it could be escapism from a boring life. Jonathan Bellrock, I believe, I ask too many questions that don't have answers. I think it does attract a lot of curious people. I think there's that, we've talked about this before, if you're into the paranormal, it tends to start when you're young, right? When I was a kid, it was the Time Life books. It was those journeys into mystery, and we learned about Bigfoot, and I didn't like Bigfoot back then. I mean, I got all this Bigfoot merch now. Now I'm a little more intrigued. But like Bermuda Triangle, Roanoke, what happened? And the adults would be like, we don't know. So you would read these books, and then you start to get into more arcane things as well. But I think it always starts off with that kind of beyond belief, fact or fiction, Leonard Nimoy doing his shows, that type of thing is what gets you in as a kid. Definitely. Yeah, and like Chasley says, and so going off that, Chasley's talking about the obscure urban legends things. We all know about Bermuda Triangle, Mary Celeste. Those are great ways to like get interested in the subject. But yeah, at a certain point, you don't have the answer. We don't know what's causing the Bermuda Triangle thing. We have theories, but then it's, instead of spending so much time on that, I do like to cover the more weird things. Tasmanian, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I wanted to go back up here real quick because I didn't want to just shoot past this, and I did want to see that Fenelon said their first episode their friend listened to was the one where the guy ejaculated out of his butthole. And you know what's funny? Since I did that episode, if you didn't hear that episode, you're like, what? I missed that one. Since I've done that episode, I got 2 emails from 2 people who listen to the show, and they go, oh, I know a guy who did that. It's not rare at all. The fact that I was able to release this episode, and within a week, I had 2 different people go, oh, no, my buddy, as their eyes go from side to side. They're like, yeah, my buddy. His name's the same as mine, but spelled backwards, and he lives in Canada. They both said, yeah, something happened. Like, one of them was, like, on a motocross bike, and then he was ejaculating out of his butthole. I think that guy was specifically pooping out of his penis. So it's not super rare. If you state a fact and 2 people stand up and go, oh, that happened to me, it's not rare at all. This comment up here, and I've kind of been following it a bit, but I wanted to take a look at this about, from SK, how soon until the theories about the Waukesha